Hi there, welcome to Kneppy Invest, and welcome to a standalone answer and question video. Something that has nothing to do with investing, unless you invest in movie studios, I suppose. Anyway, this is from Serenity View, who asked, Neppy, what are your favorite top five romantic movies of all time? And I was thinking, for some reason, romantic comedies, so rom-coms, which I don't really like. And to be honest with you, I don't really like romantic movies. Now, just because I don't like romantic movies doesn't mean I think romantic movies are bad or stupid or crap. It's just what I don't like. And for me, this is very important. When it comes to art, the whole point of art is to evoke emotion. So, for instance, when it comes to music, I actually like more melancholy music, that sort of thing. And I think the reason behind that is melancholy music can evoke emotions I usually don't experience because I'm a fairly happy person. I don't not usually depressed, that sort of thing. And I don't usually have those feelings or those thoughts all that often. So I'm quite attractive to melancholic music. And if you're attracted to more uplifting music or romantic movies, those sort of art forms evoke some sort of emotion in you. And if I criticize those movies or that music, that means I'm criticizing your emotions, your feelings. And I don't think that's very good thing to do. So I will never say something is bad, something is crap. I'm just not the sort of person who likes these sort of movies. So anyway, that's what I'm going to say. He also mentioned, because I said something about rom-coms, actual romantic movies like Nights in Rodanthe, The Bodyguard, Message in a Bottle, Remember Me, The Notebook, Love Story, Meet Joe Black, The Best of Me. Funny enough, I've seen most of these, and I'm pretty sure a few of these are Nicholas Sparks. I don't like any of these movies. I'm going to say that right now. I don't like any of these movies. It's just me. Again, it's just me. So to answer this particular question, I did have to dig fairly deep, and I had to be a little bit more broad because I just don't like these. Oh, maybe you could call these romantic dramas. I don't know. So I had to be or think a little bit more broad, and I have actually come up with five movies that could be considered romantic, maybe romantic comedies, romantic adventure, romantic dramas, maybe. I can't remember. Definitely some romantic comedies and romantic venture. But these are five movies that, yeah, I actually do like a fair bit. So let's get stuck into it. And a few old movies, by the way, in this group. Okay, so let's get stuck into it. When Harry Met Sally. Okay, this would have been at number five if I actually listed these by rank. When Harry Met Sally probably would come in number five. I was thinking about The Princess Bride. Someone actually mentioned Wally, which actually was a good choice. I didn't even think about that. But really, coming in number five was between When Harry Met Sally and The Princess Bride. And fun enough, Billy Crystal is in both of those movies. But I just stuck with When Harry Met Sally simply because I think Billy Crystal was great in this, and just the chemistry between these two actors, Billy Crystal and Mo Ryan, was pretty good. And Carrie Fisher was in this, Bruno Kirby, who unfortunately, actually, both of those have unfortunately passed away. Directed by, yeah, Rob Reiner, who had quite a few good movies in the 1980s. So I'm thinking this was released 1989, 1990, something like that. And I've actually have seen this a few times. So that's another criteria. If I've only seen a movie once, it's usually forgettable for me. And once I've seen it twice or maybe three times, it becomes a little bit more memorable, and I do remember it a little bit more. And I've definitely have seen When Harry Met Sally at least twice, maybe three times. So there you go. When Harry Met Sally, probably a romantic comedy. In fact, it says a new comedy by Rob Reiner, but definitely there is a romance, and the romance is a main part of the story or the plot. How they meet. It takes a long, long time for these two people to eventually get together. And also, I like the little blurbs of couples speaking about when they met, something like that, throughout the movie. And I think the last one we see of that is these two characters speaking about how they met. Anyway, so When Harry Met Sally, next is a Philadelphia Story from 1940. I still remember the first time I watched this many, many years ago, and I really liked it. Now, it doesn't hurt that the three actors in this movie, Cary Grant in himself, what a great actor. In fact, he's in one of my favorite movies of all time, North by Northwest. We also have Katharine Hepburn, who I believe, if I remember correctly, at this point in time when they released this movie, she was considered poison, box office poison or something like that. She's won the most Oscars ever, if I remember correctly. Yeah, and yeah, she's gold. And James Stewart, if I had to pick an actor back in those days who I would have gravitated towards, it would have been Jimmy Stewart. Again, he's in one of my favorite movies. So North by Northwest, Hitchcock, and also The Rear Window had James Stewart in there, also Grace Kelly. And you can't say anything negative about Grace Kelly, can you? Anyway, so Philadelphia Story is one that stood out. But again, this would be more of a romantic comedy. I'm pretty sure, I could be a little bit mistaken. This was voted as the number one romantic comedy of all time. Now, a lot of people would be turned off just because this was released in 1940, but it's a great movie and I fully recommend it if you've never seen it. Coming in next, we have Casablanca. Again, Humphrey Bogart. Come on. Who could not like Humphrey Bogart? Ingrid Bergman, pretty good. And some iconic. I've seen this, by the way, I've seen Philadelphia Story twice. I've seen Casablanca probably three times, and I would not be hesitant about watching it again. It's one of the all-time great when it comes to movies, some great sayings in it. And the great thing about Casablanca is they never get together in the end, do they? In fact, we have the start of a beautiful relationship between Humphrey Bogart and the cop guy. Anyway, so I don't think there's anything negative you can say about Casablanca, unless you don't like black and white. So this was filmed in, I think it released in 1941, definitely during World War II. I'm just thinking 1941 for some reason. I could be a little bit out with that. Okay, so two fairly old movies. And next we have The Last of the Mohicans. So this is more of a romance adventure. In fact, I'd say it's more of an adventure with a bit of romance tucked in there. Now, speaking of great actors, we have Daniel Day-Lewis. I would, if anyone argued that he's the greatest actor right now, I'd say, yep, I would agree with that. And all you have to do is watch There Will Be Blood. Just watch, if you've never seen him act, just watch There Will Be Blood. And if you're not amazed by that performance, then I'm not sure if I can do anything for you. Now, I wouldn't say in this particular movie he has or shows great acting chops, but it's an adventure film set in the well, definitely before it would have been set in the early 1700s, based off the book. And this is when the English were fighting the French. I don't know the whole history back then. And a great soundtrack as well. I love the soundtrack of this. So Last of the Mohicans with Daniel Day-Lewis and Madeline Stowe. And if you've never seen this movie, and particularly if you love adventure movies, and it can be sad at times, but a pretty good movie there. And next we have Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. So I would say that people who love romantic movies may not be as drawn to this because it's more than just a romantic movie. Now, there is a couple in it, and that's Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet. Now, Jim Carrey, back before this, would have been in quite a few movies where he showed his comedic chops. Dumb Dumber, what is it? Dumb and Dumber. Yeah, Dumb and Dumber. I love that movie. But he was also in The Truman Show. And I think that would have been the first movie where he started to get out of that, even though there was a bit of comedy in The Truman Show. This was the stage where he was pivoting outside or out of those pure comic roles. Now, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind definitely is not comedy, but there's definitely that romance tinge to it. And it's just, if you don't know anything about this movie, I won't say anything, but I do recommend this. But you do have to pay attention. This is the sort of movie you have to pay attention to because the timeline is not straight. That's what I'm going to say. The timeline is not straight. But a great performance from Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet. We also have Elijah Wood in this, Tom Wilkinson, what's the name? Kirsten Dunst. Oh, and the guy, what's his name? The Hulk from the Avengers. What's his name? Mark Ruffalo. Anyway, so Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I actually do watch this movie every 3 or 4 years. It's one of those movies that I just really enjoy. And what else can I say? So those are my 5 top romance movies. Movies I actually do watch on occasion, and I've seen more than once, but they are not romance movies. I would not consider any of these or pure romance movies, but there is romance tinge to all these movies. Okay, so what are your 5 romance movies? Top 5 romance movies. Leave your list in the comment section of this video. Otherwise, I'm not a financial advisor. If you need financial advice, make sure you seek out someone who is qualified and can speak to your own financial needs. That's it for this video. Have a good day. See you later. Bye.